Hi, I'm Will Townsend. I manage the networking and security practices for Moor Insights and Strategy. And today we're talking about a very exciting new technology. It's the enterprise AI browser. Now, secure browsers are something that I recently wrote about on Forbes with respect to Black Hat. I actually called the Black Hat Security Conference the Year of the Enterprise Browser. And so to unpack this today, I've got Michael Hsieh. Michael is the CEO and co-founder of Mammoth Cyber, and we're going to talk a little bit about some industry context and what Mammoth Cyber is doing to reimagine the AI enterprise browser. Michael, it's great to talk to you today.
Hey, well, thank you for having me today.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. Let's set some context. So, when we hear the term AI browser, people think of consumer tools like Perplexity, Comet, Atlassian's DIA browser, which are great for personal research and summarization. In fact, I use some of those tools in the course of what I do as an industry analyst. But Mammoth is positioning itself very differently. And so, Michael, let's first start off with how do you define the enterprise AI browser, and why is this a distinct category relative to other secure browsers in the market?
Yes, well, we do see that AI actually bring a lot of innovation into the daily life, especially when AI combined with browser, it can help a lot of the user doing their daily job. But I
Hmm.
think main concern for enterprise to deploy the solution is always the security,
Sure.
because uh, although AI could bring in the automation efficiency to the user, but one thing remain at a high stake is really the security that we don't want to have the AI have unauthorized access to the data that it shouldn't connect to. And we want to
Hmm.
have the observability and monitoring to see how AI is access the data and how users are using that. So all that actually require another level of the security to manage the AI capability there. That's why I think we bring the enterprise AI browser to really help user and organization to secure the AI deployment there.
And runtime becomes really important as well. And I want to get into the data point that you made in a second, but you speak to security. What's interesting, before we saw generative AI hit, the technology landscape, I would have, PR firms and other companies come to me and pitch zero trust browsers. And I thought at first that was a ridiculous assumption because zero trust is about least privilege access. It's about authenticating users to applications. And the thought of a browser just really didn't occur to me. And so you eloquently stated, the security aspects of it, but there's more, right? That differentiates what, an enterprise AI browser is from a consumer browser. And some of that is compliance, right?
Exactly, exactly. I think we define, there's certain core capability that the enterprise AI browser have. Of course, the first one is always, you need to have a central management be able to, for administrator, manage all the browser and AI capability there.
Hmm.
Also, it must provide the observability and auditability to really real time to see how AI it interact with enterprise data.
Hmm.
And all this need to be identity integrated because the AI can only assume the user to access the authorized data. And
Hmm.
also the protection need to cover the data and the device there. And all that actually come back to eventually all this implementation need to under the zero trust assumption there. They can only access the data and application they are allowed to do. And that's
Hmm.
really some of the key capability that enterprise AI browser must to have.
Yeah. So, Michael, I want to also talk about model flexibility, right? So there are a lot of users that are using ChatGPT and Grok and other foundational models. But what's beginning to occur are foundational models are moving to more bespoke models. So how does Mammoth Cyber factor for that and accommodate that?
Yes. Yeah. So one of we see the trend is there are all the different model with a different capability, and the different organization, may want to use one or the other, or even build their own model internally, and that's become their secret sauce. But they still want to apply those intelligence into their own applications. That's why we build a solution. It's open for adapt to different model that they can use, let's say ChatGPT or Anthropic Cloud, and with or even their own private model. With that, they can really apply those intelligence with their data and applications.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. It's bring your own model, right? Kind of like bring your own device that we've heard for years and years and years. And it's estimated that, basically, open source and, is the foundation, the underpinning for a lot of these models, but companies are going to create their own bespoke models and they're going to want to use their own private data to train them. So I think it's an important point that you make that you have designed your architecture to accommodate for multiple models.
Yes, thank you.
I would agree with that. Now, there's some very large software companies, one of them being the largest software company on the planet, Microsoft, that offers its Edge for Business browser solution. And Google offers an enterprise version of Chrome as well. And this is often layered with single sign-on and VPNs and other sort of security layered provisions. But as I mentioned, runtime becomes important. AI, generative, very quickly moving to agentic presents a new set of challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you're hearing from customers?
I think the most of the change is really how they can deploy, manage, and govern their AI deployment.
Hmm.
By combining the AI into the browser, they actually can greatly simplify their deployment and management ability there. Right now, they have only one set to manage, and from the browser side, they can manage the LLM model to connect to the web application, but
Hmm.
also in the future, the same mechanism actually can protect the browser as a prompt to
Right.
access to all the different AI agents there.
Hmm.
So this is actually the shift of the traditional distributed multiple AI agent way to become more central control and leverage the browser as a closer point to the user to manage all that.
Yeah, prompt injection is a huge concern, right? And it's difficult to manage. Is there anything that Mammoth is doing that's different than others in the market?
Yeah, you actually hit a key point. By integrate the prompt into the browser, actually
Mhm.
browser can really closely manage all the data input and output on that. In addition, the prompt actually also access all the different enterprise data through the browser. Those part is also can control. For example, that if some of the web page have some PI information that
Mhm.
the corporate want to prevent the AI model to learn from that, we actually can provide the data mask feature to mask all the PI information, but only allow those remaining information useful for AI to utilize. So that's
Mhm.
really one of the use case why the enterprise AI browser is different from the consumer-facing AI browser.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is. And, from my perspective, I'm not an engineer, but it almost seems magical that you can accomplish what you just described, masking that personal identifiable information because data is what feeds modern AI. It's what is, used in training, it's used in inference. It is moving from cloud, large language models that are, all the way down to network edges and edge AI. And so I want to talk a little bit about data because you touched on it earlier. There's a potential blind spot that I'm seeing with AI inference on private data. And a lot of this is being facilitated through edge AI. We have new classes of devices that are AI enabled with chipsets from Qualcomm and others. And so I'm wondering, how does Mammoth address that potential blind spot at edge AI sort of applications and use cases?
Well, if the Edge AI is accessed through the browser, we actually have a full visibility about how the model interact with the data there. So
Okay.
from there, we can have a multiple way to do that. We can control the data flow. We can scan the PI information, and all that can really prevent the data leakage from there.
Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. And as we, as we sort of look at where we've started and where we're headed, the browser is becoming the default interface for AI applications. It's not a separate GUI and that sort of thing. And it's likely going to become a foundational layer with enterprise, complementing things like vector databases and inference engines and these sort of things. So I'm wondering, I mean, that's a pretty broad ecosystem. And what are you doing at Mammoth Cyber to fit into that ecosystem?
Uh, yeah, well, you hit it right. I think browser is primary interface, for most of the user to do their job. I think that's really something uh, could be the attack surface to the user, and that's
Hmm.
why it will be critical to really protect the browser to connect to all the different enterprise infrastructure there.
Hmm.
From what we do is really we see the browser see how user connect to different application, how they looking into the data, how they looking into the application, how they utilize the data, what's the device and location they connect to. All that is the metrics that the browser can see it and fully
Hmm.
control with that. And we create a very comprehensive security policy to manage that. And right now, the same framework actually can apply to the AI model as well.
Hmm.
So you can pretty much set the framework with a different security policy to limit what AI can do, and also with the compliance to the company's security policy.
Hmm. I'm very impressed with what you're doing with that contextual data because it's very dynamic and it changes often. And I think that's an important point to highlight is that what you're doing with your architecture is very, very dynamic because bad actors are going to consistently change their methodology, the way they deliver malware, the way they're going to infiltrate runtime to to thwart defenders and what they're doing there. But as we close our conversation, I'd like to talk a little bit about what's on the roadmap because you're doing a lot of things that are amazing, but this segment is heating up very, very quickly. And you've got some very big players. You've got Palo Alto Networks with Prisma, their Prisma Access browser. I talked about Google and Microsoft. What are you going to do to stay ahead of the competition?
Yes, I think we are the leading company to bring the AI on a specific, AI agent into the browser. I
Hmm.
don't think other big enterprise companies, security company, is in this area. And what we do is really we building with the security first architecture with the AI in there. So this is really create a differentiation from all the
Hmm.
consumer facing AI browser. And as far as how we compete with other enterprise browser vendor, we actually stay ahead of our AI agent development. And I think by combine the AI intelligence with the browser environment, that's really something we are leading the industry on that.
Yeah. And it's important to note that, some of your competitors have acquired companies to do this, or they're partnering with other companies. And this is a grounds up architecture. I've spent some time with you and looked under the hood, and, I've been very impressed with what you've been able to deliver. But I guess as we close, Michael, um, why is the enterprise AI browser relevant today?
I think everyone is looking to leverage the AI capability in their job. MIT research actually just published a report about a couple of weeks ago. And I think, in the report, the famous quote is 95% of AI pilot fail because they didn't see the cost saving.
I've seen similar statistics. It's incredible. I mean, there are lots of
Yeah.
proof of concepts, but this gets abandoned along the way. And
Yeah.
so why do you think that's the case?
Actually, in the same report, there's a quote there, they see the biggest ROI for the enterprise actually is a back office automation. And
Okay.
when we talk about, what is a back office automation, It's primarily all the CRM system, financial, payroll, customer report system that the user are using daily are not really automated yet.
Hmm.
And that's why the enterprise AI browser be able to bring the AI intelligence to help people to do all the back office automation. At the same time, the security, observability, governance is all covered. I think that's the beauty of the enterprise AI browser.
Yeah.
It's really provide the biggest ROI to the enterprise, but also have all the security covered.
Yeah, I agree. And the secure browsers have been around for a while, but in this AI era, infusing, those architectural controls directly into the browser that specifically address AI workloads, AI requirements, and address the runtime piece as well is really, really going to be critical from my perspective. But Michael, I want to thank you for a great conversation. It's been very, very insightful. And I also want to thank our viewers for tuning in.
All right. Thank you, Will.